There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes, you are welcome here. Welcome. Step into the house of love. This is where you're invited to. This is the space where you have the opportunity to come as you are. And the intention is you will leave here feeling so much more better. But more importantly, let's see, I just want to make sure. Okay, great. More importantly, you will deepen into the essence of you, the essence of love, of truth. New Jace is in the house. She came in and said, present. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good day to you wherever you are at this very moment in time. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. Tuning into yourself first, and then tuning into Ade Presents. Being You, the podcast. When you tune in, you listen. That's the important thing. You tune in and you listen. And in your listening, you just might catch a new awareness. And maybe sometimes you can just remember something you wanted to do that you've forgotten to do. And you're like, oh, I've got scrambled eggs on the stove. Yeah, that's it. I was going to say toast. Anyway, I think I'm hungry. I am. I haven't really had much today. But you remember when you take a moment to just stop, you reset your mind, you reset your body, and you're able to drop deeper into yourself. And in that space, you allow transformation. You allow shift to happen. You allow things to happen that maybe you thought of or didn't plan for. I'm trying to adjust this phone over here. Okay, that's great. I am Ade, your transformational beingness artist. And yes, welcome to another episode of Ade Presents Being You, the podcast. It is the journey back to yourself. It is the journey to remind you that you're home. It's the journey that reminds you that everything that you seek to be, want to be, desire to be, you are it. Now, you may be it in the form of a seed, but you've got to allow yourself to create the perfect environment so that the seed can be the fruit. And you become the fruit of your own labor. Oh, that's good. That's good. So the labor doesn't mean you're always pushing hard and it's painful. You're doing your spiritual work. You're asking yourself deeper questions. When you say affirmation, I am love, I am truth, I am peace, I am joy. You're not just saying the words with the hope that it's going to make sense. You are literally speaking truth. That I am love. What is love? Love, it means a lot to a lot of people. It means many things to people. But it's more than what you feel. It's more than an emotion. Love is a force. It's a harmonizing energy. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. And you get to decide. Well, actually, no. Yeah, you get to decide how you define where you are. Sometimes we compare the love that we are expressing compared to somebody else's and think we're not doing enough. You can't be more than yourself. You can't be anything but yourself. So however you're feeling love and reminding yourself that though I am feeling it, love is so much more than what I feel. Love is so much more than emotions. Because if you rely on the love that's about what you feel, that's conditional love. Because if you don't feel it, you ain't gonna love. That's right, you ain't gonna love. I don't feel like loving. No, love is a choice. Love is a choice to be whole, no matter what is going on. Love is a choice to transform. Love is a choice to accept. Love is a choice to remember who you are, no matter what is going on. That you remind yourself that what is happening here is challenging. I don't like it. But you know what? One, this too shall pass. Two, maybe I should say it the other way. One, there is a solution. There is an answer. I may be close to death. It feels like it, but there is a solution. When you remember that, the way you navigate life, the way you move through what is happening is different. You remember that you're present. You remember that you are here. You remember that you are now. You are here because you're present. And because you're present, you are now. Now is not external. Now is you. You are the now. You are your spiritual journey. You are the one you're looking for, and the joy is in being in relationship. In now, as now, you being now. What does that look like in your life? You are one with the infinite. You're one with the divine. You're one with the universe. You're one with all that is. When we remember that, I am that I am takes on a whole new meaning. We get to shift how we see God, how we see life, how we see ourselves. We get to remember that we are one with it all. There's God that is everything, that is everywhere, is one with us, and we're one with it. So we recognize, we remember, you recognize and remember, I recognize and remember that not only God and I are one, God and I are one, but God as I, God as you, God as us. Hey Ashley. It's a different way of living when you allow yourself to sink into God as me. And from that place in consciousness, you see life differently. This is season 4, episode 13. Today is Tuesday, April 5th. That's right, April 5th. I was going to say 15. 2020, 2022. Ha! I was listening to myself. Sometimes, most times I don't. I go back and listen to the shows every now and then. And I'm like, did I say 2020? Dude, what's wrong with you? But anyway, Being You, the podcast, is an invitation to take a look at yourself. Who are you? How are you? What are you? Take a look at the world. What is happening in the world? How do you see it? How do you see yourself? How do you see the world? How do you see yourself in the world? And how do you see the world in you? These are questions you can ask yourself any moment of the day to bring you back into alignment. Revti is going to be joining me maybe in about 15 minutes or so. But it gives me an opportunity to clear some things up, some of the things I said last week. And, that's the beauty of having time. I used to do afterthoughts. I may go back to it, I don't know. An afterthought is usually a short clip that I do based on a conversation that happened on the show. And then I thought about it. And it's like, oh, there could be more, because there's always more. You have a thought, you share it, and later on you find out it could have said one thing. Or even though we say you could have said, if you could have said it, you would have said it. So no point beating yourself up with a shoulda, coulda, woulda. You didn't. We didn't. I didn't. So last week I talked about social media being neutral. And the thought just rise up in me. And I was like, yes. See, I said social media is neutral. It's the people that are using it that are causing the problem, the issue. But you know what I realized later on, I don't know, maybe actually, I think it's before I went to London. I was in London on Thursday, came back yesterday. Was yes, and there's more. Like the gun. I talked about people into gun saying gun don't kill people. It's the people that kill people. And I was saying that I can kind of see their point now, like never before. But the intention that went into creating something matters. So the intention of social media and all that they're doing, tapping into the psychology of what it means to be human, how they can grab your attention, how they can have you like something and stay on it. That's important. So yes, social media is neutral as much as, every thought, every intention is neutral. Well, let me see. Is every thought neutral? Every thought has an agenda. Every thought has a direction. Every thought has a destination. Every intention has an agenda. So what I will say is the intention that goes into whatever is created, even the gun, when a gun is created, there's an intention to kill. So to say guns don't kill as people, rubbish. To say social media is neutral, rubbish, that we can let go of it right now. Mohammed, nice to see you. Because there is an intent when those things are created. There's a program on Netflix that I haven't even finished watching because it took me a while to watch it, but I want to go back. And what was it called? Social something. and it's a documentary about people who work for the social media companies and what they do to grab our attention. How, when you log in, they know when you log in, they know when you're friends. That's why we're told, oh, your friend just like this. Oh, somebody, you're like, oh, what they like? Just they want our attention. And the way the mind is wired, I guess, it's like we get attracted to our friends. Like there are times I'm looking at something on Instagram and, I kind of like it. And then I see somebody that I'm following that I like, a friend, a family member that likes it. And I can feel myself liking it because they liked it. And I'm like, why am I even doing this? I'm not judging it. I'm just kind of saying what happens. So it's like, it's important to be aware. So whatever the intention is at the beginning, anyone who is in alignment with that intention will carry it forward. We will carry it forward. So we all have a responsibility to mind our minds. Last week I talked about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the super unconscious mind, right? And the importance of connecting with the super conscious mind, or unconscious mind, which I call the cloud. Every thought that has ever been thought is in the subconscious mind, superconscious mind, the cloud. And the more we think, the more we create, it expands. And creation starts there too. So everything that's been thought is part of the super conscious, unconscious mind. And every thought is in there, as well as every creation starts from there. So the more we raise our frequency to come from our higher mind, come from that place of intuition in a being, the more we can disconnect from the lower vibration of intentions that are not for the highest and best. That's not a win-win. And the other thing that I want to speak to is this conversation about violence is never an answer. So funny. Since the Slapgate, we've heard a lot of that. Violence is never an answer. Remember Ricky saying last week, someone said something similar to that. And she said, well, that's an opinion. And I thought it was well said. It is an opinion. It's not the truth. Because I wasn't thinking about this, but I'm going to say this. If you watch animals hunt for their food, you might think that's violent. If you follow nature channels, account on social media, you see all sorts in nature. And sometimes the platforms will warn you, this is a violent image or graphic image. But the animal is only trying to just eat and feed its children. And it doesn't kill 5, 4, 6, 7. What kind of number is that? 5, 4, 6, 7? Okay, we'll go with that. Doesn't kill just more than it needs. It gets what it needs. Now, us humans, we kill for fun. Whether the fun is another human being, we kill for the fact that we're depressed, or whether the fun is hunting and they're able to pose. But so let's go back to violence is never an answer. What I say to that is, okay, have you ever supported movies where there was violence? You paid money for it. Slow down, don't tell me, but that's just a movie. So slow, stay with me. Don't get defensive. Have you ever listened to songs that incite violence? Songs and music that maybe you listen to regularly. Have you read a book that has violence in it? Watch videos with violence, people beating each other up, and you saying, oh, that's horrible, but you're watching it. If you have watched those and you keep watching them, you are saying violence is an option. So when you say violence is not an answer, is never an option, You're a walking contradiction. And we all are. We are all walking contradictions. So we've learned to say things like violence is never an answer. It just sounds good. I watched an interview around this, Will and Chris Rock and Jada, and the brother was talking about what hair means to a black woman and the process that he thinks Jada may have gone through as while losing her hair as a black woman. In a country where you need a law to say it's okay to wear your hair naturally. I mean, just think about that for a minute. All that's attached, what beauty looks like, or what what whiteness tells us beauty looks like. And he was saying that when you look at it from that perspective, you may see some things differently. And a journalist came right back, but are you saying that, I think she said, are you saying though, so it's acceptable to be violent or something like that? And it was like, no. I think that's a dumb question to come back with something like that, because we say violence is never an answer. The same way people say no to drugs. That don't even make sense. But somehow money and some great thinkers come together and said, that's a great slogan. Whatever you say no to, you're really saying yes to vibrationally. Because the minute you say no, 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 I don't want that, you're putting your energy to it and you're amplifying it. Say no. That's a whole different show. I'm not even going to go into that. So many things. Okay. My Aries sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Muhammad said, best, I don't know if you're talking about me, best motivational speaker. I will follow you to 4 months. Oh, follow you for 4 months? 4 months? You're my dream helper. Okay. Thank you very much. If that's meant for me. In this human expression, as we have created so far, it's important to tell the truth rather than coming up with fancy slogans. That part of being in this human experience, there's violence. Maybe you grew up with it. Maybe you lived with it. Maybe it's in your DNA. Now, will that ever change? I don't know. Maybe this is a realm that will always be, and as we grow in consciousness, this is one of those levels where we get to work out some things and know there's so much more. And then you get to see that there's a cause and effect to everything. The laws of nature are always in place. So before you see a slap, there was a thought. Before there was a thought, there was another thought. There was a belief. There are other things. Whatever it is, whatever you're dealing with, what you're dealing with in that moment is happening as an expression or a reflection of something else, a thought that you've thought in the past, a belief that you have, something that you thought about. By putting your attention in something, you amplify it. Which is a good place for me to tell you, put an attention and intention on today's show. Like it and share it. And at the risk of looking like whatever, I'm going to ask you this question. Last week, as I always do, ask people to like and share the show. And I even ask, if you don't share the show, don't want to share the show, tell me. I honestly want to know. Why? Is it because you don't want people to know you're listening to this crazy dude? Or you think your people ain't ready for it? Whatever it is. Now, for me, I don't need to when I ask you, because I want to know. As I grow and expand, I am interested in knowing about what works. This is a community. Yes, I love doing this, and I would do it no matter what. And because I love it and I'm doing it, hosting, the work that I do, counseling, readings, workshops, drumming, because I love what I do, people are going to gravitate towards it anyway, no matter what. And there are ways to use what we have, to use the knowledge, the wisdom, the insight to grow what we're doing. I will say that only a few people shared it, as far as I can see, based on Facebook. I can't tell on YouTube, and actually didn't check on IG, both accounts. I didn't check on there, but I really genuinely want to know why people don't share, whether it's my show, but the only one I'm interested in right now is my show. Because one, it makes me better. If there is something that you believe, well, if there's something, if you have a real reason, and if you don't, you can say, well, you know what, I don't know. Why did I bring that point up? There's a reason I brought it up, but I forgot. So I'll just say, like and share the show. It's not a command, it's a request. This is how we influence society. That's right, I said influence. This is how we trick the algorithms to recognize, oh yeah, we need more of this. See, if some kind of violent thing happened right now, we say it's not an answer, but we certainly share it, which gives someone else an idea, like, oh, next time I could do that. And I know when we share that, we're sharing to bring about awareness as well, to say this is what's happening and we must do something about it. We also have a responsibility when we find a book, a podcast, a show, a teacher, whoever it is, that is, thank you, Mohammed, whoever it is, to put that out there too, to click like and share it. Overwhelm the algorithm. Overwhelm those who are designing the platform, who sometimes only look from their own perspective, which oftentimes doesn't have a lot of people, the brown people there. And when I say brown, I'm talking about including the BIPOC community, the Black Indigenous people of color. Because I've said this before, you go to YouTube and type yoga teacher. If you're a brown person that wants to see another teacher that looks like you, first few pages is just white people. Female, male, whatever. You go on the GIFs and you're looking for a GIF, a meme that expresses you. Most of what comes up first is white people. Why? Because the people who are doing it mostly white, and it's not a judgment. However, the more we get in that industry, the more things change. So we have a responsibility to create the world we want to see. Because first the seed, then the fruits. And there's an interesting conversation that I'm going to have with Rev D about that topic, but I won't say it now. What else I want to tell you? I want to read this. I've read it before and I love it. It always touches me so deeply. Let me make sure that Rev D is not waiting, standing by somewhere. Good question, Mohammed. Mohammed, who's listening from Pakistan. So on YouTube, if you want to find me, you have to go to, YouTube.com/ I don't know why I'm doing this, / LC Radio. I would type it here. YouTube.com/ LC Radio. That takes you to my channel on YouTube. I am working on seeing how I can change that to something like youtube.com / Life Coach ID. So that way it's easy for people to find me. What I was going to read, I'm not going to read it now. I'm ready to jump in because Rev D will be here very shortly, in about a few seconds. And she's ready to go. Hey, Pat, nice to see you. Ashley, Kwali, Muhammad, and all the other silent listeners. Thank you for being here. Noel. Okay, Noel, that's an interesting question. Well, say more. I don't want to make assumptions that Rev D knows what you're talking about. But what do you mean? Ask her to mention the relationship between first seed and tithing. Say more about that. And I'll definitely ask her. But put some context to your question. Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about Rev D and we're jumping. I'm excited about what's going to happen here because I always leave this conversation feeling expansive and transformed. Reverend Deborah L. Johnson, aka Rev D, is a lifelong social justice activist with a passion for healing social, political, and cultural divides. She is known for her ability to bring clarity, civility, and humor to complex and emotionally charged issues. She's definitely born for a time like this. She's right on time. Wherever she goes, her message is oneness, inclusion, possibility, empowerment, and transformation. She is the founder of Inner Light Ministries, board member of the Pachamama Alliance, and founding member with Michael Bernard Beckwith of Agape International Spiritual Center. She is the author of The Sacred Yes, which we're going to read something from today, and the second episode, well, not episode, what's the volume? So The Sacred Yes is volume 1, and Your Deepest Intent is volume 2. You can find out more about her by going to her website, deborah.ljohnson.org. That's Deborah with an H. And on Facebook, Rev Deborah Johnson. On Twitter, just Google her. She's one of those people who are Googleable, so no matter what, you will find her because your inner light will connect with her inner light and bam! She might even show up where you are. Just come off the screen like, Rev D, are you in my living room? It's like, the question is, where are you? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, psychics and skeptics, physical beings and non-physical beings, help me welcome my mentor, my friend, my sister, myself. Hey, Rev D.
Hey there. How you doing?
I am wonderful. Nice to see your smile. Nice to see you here. I always love when we have these conversations because it's literally soul surgery. I can't imagine anybody that comes here when we do the show and leave the same. And if they leave the same, they weren't here. You cannot be here and not be like, woo, wait a minute. Thank you for all you do. And I can only imagine like right now, there's, lots of shift and change as you move out of the building and inner light, create a new way of living, a new way of being. And you do it not just with a smile, but you keep showing up. You keep showing up. And I'm grateful for that, to see that example. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
You're very
Life
welcome.
is in session.
Hey, hey, let me tell you, Rev D, life is truly in sessions.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, yes. And one of the things I am having to practice and deepen into is actually reminding myself that it may look like things are crazy and wild and chaotic, and I feel like I can't keep up because I won't anyway, and I'm overwhelmed. I keep bringing myself back to, it's okay. This too shall pass. It's okay, no matter what it is. From the email that I get, it's like, woo, wait, it's okay. Because if I really look back, most of the things that I worried about either never happened or didn't happen as bad as I thought it would happen. It was like, oh, I wasted time and energy trying to worry about something that never did happen. And now I'm still, if I don't learn, keep worrying about things that hasn't happened, have no idea how it's going to happen, but I'm worried about it. It's like, wait a minute. Yes. So bringing myself back to this moment, and I really find that it's creating space in my mind to just look at things, whether it's a slap gate or something else, to be neutral about it. Like, okay, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have done that. Maybe there's more to the story. But being just to say, okay, what is important right now? What's happening right now? And I'm grateful for that. I am grateful. Yes.
Say a double man.
So let's jump in and we'll talk about. Noel has a question, but we'll come to that.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's a confession, but I want to talk about, which actually is in alignment with the conversation I just had. So about a week ago, I kept hearing first the seed, then the fruit. It just, from that inner voice, like, oh. And then I heard it again. I said, oh, that's in the sacred yes. The sacred yes. I said, yeah. And I didn't get a chance to look it up. And then Thursday, I went to London. I didn't have the book with me. And of course, when we were texting yesterday, you said, I don't know, but in the sacred yes, there is first the root, then the fruit. For a minute, I was like, ooh, did I hear that correctly? Well, actually, I don't even think it's a minute. It's a few seconds. And I was like, no, you heard what you heard. And I was able to give myself space not to make up a story about, well, maybe if I looked it up, it was none of that. And then I was led to watch your sermon this past Sunday. And my ego self was like, yeah, baby, I'm in June. I thought I messed up, but no, I didn't. I know I didn't mess up because we'll probably get into that. But I highlight that one because I want to share something out of Sacred Yes. And at the same time is sometimes we don't know why we hear what we hear, the guidance we're getting. It may not make sense. And I'll tell you, we won't go into this, but every time I hear take the umbrella with me, I find myself saying, well, it's not going to rain. And I remember your story. I'm like, take the damn umbrella. And I took it last week. I don't think it was going to rain. It never did rain. It's like, why am I taking the umbrella? No, just be obedient. So I live my life by take the umbrella. Okay. Oh, I know that's a lot that I'm throwing at you, but I just feel like, just felt like sharing that. So let's do this backwards because I can do it any way I want. How are you doing?
I'm fine, actually. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
I'm
welcome.
doing well. Lots of changes, lots of transitions, but I'm doing well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the show started with the idea of first the seed, then the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, you took it deeper. Yes, then first the roots and then the fruit, which is, as far as I know, is part of a chapter in the Sacred Yes, courage.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, as a foundation, if you won't mind reading that.
Sure.
For those of you who have the Sacred Yes, it is courage is on 239, but this particular section is on 244. First the roots, then the fruits. Over to you.
So this is the very end of a letter. And these letters are spiritual downloads. They're these messages, they're these prophetic messages that come in the form of a letter. It says, remember that in your new thought tradition, the healing is in the answer, not the process. It is in the answer that spirit is all there is. When that seed takes root deep in your consciousness, it not only produces a tree that can withstand all weather, it bears a fruit that not only multiplies, but is ever so sweet. First the roots, and then the fruits. Too many of you are trying to bake your apple pie. You want to eat the fruit more than you want to tend to the seed. Garden your mind. Fertilize the soil of your minds. Weed out the thorns and the thistles. Move the rocks and the stumbling blocks out of the way. I will do my part. You do your part. Don't worry about your doing my part. You do Your part. I have the seeds. I know when they should grow, how they should grow, where they should grow, how much should grow. Your job is to create the soil fertile enough to accept any combination of decisions that are part of the divine plan. I'm going to say that again.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to create the soil fertile enough to accept any combination of decisions that are part of the divine plan. I am most pleased that you have taken the time to contemplate these most important concepts. You will be stronger ministers of consciousness as you embody them and let the roots plant deeply in your soul. I am most pleased with the progress and the work that you have been doing, and it is my pleasure to continue to support you in your maturation as well as your matriculation.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
Mm-hmm. We've heard it. I had an experience with that section yesterday. I may talk about it later. Let's start with the idea of what is the root? What is it referring to? The seed as the answer, and what are the fruits?
Everybody just take a breath. Take a breath.
Yes.
So there's an analogy that's being made here of comparing ourselves to what goes on in nature. So in nature, you have a seed, and within the seed is a potentiality. The seed is this exquisite representation of what we mean by the nowness of the moment, with now being an integration of the past, the present, and the so-called future.
Mm-hmm.
So in that seed is all of the history, the DNA, so to speak, of everything that has brought it to this moment. Within it is what it is now as a seed.
Yes.
And all of its potentiality, and the future generation are in that seed. But here's the thing, that the purpose of the seed is to multiply. Okay, that's its purpose. The seed that clings to being a seed cannot fulfill its great purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So the seed has to go through a transformation process. It has to crack open. And not only does it have to crack open, it has to grow roots. The purpose of the roots is to anchor. Sometimes Jesus makes analogies about using the idea of roots. Sometimes he uses the analogies of a foundation. So roots are to a plant what a foundation is to a structure. Now, what these roots do is that they cling. They cling on to something greater and outside of themselves, their own little identity self, that's strong enough to hold them in place. So that when the winds come and the rains come and all that, it isn't washed away. It's not blown away. The other thing that these roots do is these roots are a food canal. They're a channel. So they're sucking up the nutrients out of the earth. So the seed, in order for it to actually do something, it has to be planted.
Mm-hmm.
Some room has to be made in the soil for the seed. So before you can get an apple, something that's coming topside, something has to go down first.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to go down before it goes up. But typically, we can't see these roots. The rooting is taking place in spaces that are not visible to the naked eye.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're busy waiting for the fruit and you can't see nothing topside, you can get very anxious and begin to wonder if anything's happening at all.
Yes.
Okay. So, from a human being standpoint, quite often these seeds are considered to be divine ideas, eneo ideas. The seed can actually be you. We're sort of all of it, all at once. But the seed has to be planted someplace. So whether or not the seed grows depends upon the conditions that it's planted in, the fertility of its environment. See, you can't make the seed grow. You can only create the environment conducive for it to grow.
Yes.
It's going to grow. You don't have to coax the stems out of the seed. You don't have to crack it open and do all that. You just got to make sure
Yes.
that you've put it someplace that's not going to get choked by a bunch of weeds, that's not going to have boulders and stuff underneath it that keep it from being able to go down. And this analogy is being made here, saying that our minds, our consciousness
Mm-hmm.
is where things get planted.
Yes.
It's where they get planted. And that our job here is to make sure that we are fertile soil. To make sure that we're fertile soil. Okay? Because there are things that God is trying to plant in us. There are things that are trying to happen, and we can't know all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't know all of it.
Mm.
But first, the roots and the healthiness of the plant depends upon its roots.
Yes.
See, we're busy. Ooh, I got this good apple. Ooh, I got this good plant. I got this good project. Ooh, and I'm just gonna work this project, and I'm gonna hoard this project, and I'm gonna make sure I got some more because I did this project and this thing. If you want more apples, you're not gonna get more apples worrying about that apple. You're gonna get more apples tending to the roots. From where was that apple born?
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
and you keep tending to where it was born, you're gonna keep getting more.
Mm-hmm. Mm. It seems so simple because it is. When you talk about you can't make the seed grow, you just put it in the right condition. Makes me think if we become the metaphor for the seed, we just want to create the fertile soil, the right condition for growth to happen. Everything we need, it's already in us. We're connected to the roots from those who came before us, from life before we knew what life is. However, if we decide to get caught up in distractions that end up becoming weed, that chokes out what could really happen. So our responsibility really is creating the conditions on a daily basis for us to grow so we can have the kind of fruits we're dreaming, visioning about, having vision board. That would happen. And it's not going to just fall out the sky. It actually comes from deep within. Mm,
It's that same way, literally making a human being.
mm.
There's a gestation period.
Yes. Yes.
Just like the seed has a germination, but you can't make the baby grow. You can't make arms and limbs and all that stuff happen. It will happen if the baby is in an environment
Mhm.
where the baby can do what it do.
Yes.
So every divine idea comes with its own supply.
Mm.
Everything knows how to be. We just have to provide the fertility.
Can you say, I want to go to the question that Noel had earlier, but you just said every divine idea comes with its own supply. Can you just break that down? Because it is simple, it is powerful, and there's so much in it. Because if we accept that as the answer, we will allow the seed to grow. Can you say more about that?
Yes. And I'm going to flip it.
Okay.
Okay. Because just as we say first the roots, then the fruits,
Mm-hmm.
every fruit has its roots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See? So anything that we see out there, it's just the fruit of our politics, the fruit of our economics, the fruit of our consciousness. It didn't just get there. If it's there, it's because it has some roots.
Mm-hmm.
And if it keeps happening, it's got deep roots.
Yes. Yes. Woo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
we say every divine idea comes with their own supply, which basically means that within the seed has what it needs
Mm-hmm.
to become whatever it is that's next.
Yes.
It's already in there. Like the caterpillar has coded within its homogenous cells
Mm-hmm.
everything it needs to become the butterfly. It's just got to get its butt in the cocoon. It's
Yeah.
just got to chill out from being a caterpillar long enough
Mm-hmm.
to make that transition.
Yes.
Go ahead. So I'm going to flip this on you a little bit. We want to think of it sometimes as there's just the seed and where's the supply going to come from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's really the other way around. All the supply is already there.
The seed. Yes.
All the supply is already there. We're just not planting its seeds.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
See, all the joy is already there. We're just not planting the seeds of joy. All of the justice is already available in the world. We're
Yes.
just not planting the
Mm.
seeds of justice so that they can take root.
Mm.
Yesterday was Martin Luther King's anniversary of his assassination.
Yes.
And I was part of a reading last night at the Resource Center for Nonviolence here, where we were taking time reading the speech that he gave exactly a year before his death, April the 4th in 1967, Beyond Vietnam, Time to Break the Silence, that he gave at the infamous Riverside Church in New York City. And the man prophesied. Actually, Dr. Vincent Harding actually wrote that speech, but he prophesied everything that we're doing now in terms of our politics and our militarism and how we just continue being on the wrong side of history. But the point is that if you see it out here, it's got some deep roots that are there.
Yes.
We keep trying to make the supply. The supply is there. You just got to get pregnant. The supply is there. You just have to allow yourself to be the incubator space through which it can come. The music's there. The ideas are there. The stuff we're trying to discover, we're not creating it. We're discovering it because it's already there. Scientific discoveries, medical discoveries. They're not inventing it. They're just waking up to what was already there. See, and here's the problem. Most of us are planting seeds of lack and limitation, seeds of I don't know, seeds of it's never going to work. And you know what? Every seed got its own supply. Baby, it'll multiply. Everything multiplies.
Everything.
I remember when I finally got that there's an abundance of everything. So that even when I think that there's nothing, I experience an abundance of that.
Yes.
There's an abundance of life is good, and there's an abundance of life sucks.
Sucks. Yes.
An ever increasing, infinite supply of all of it. Just which seeds are you going to plant?
Yes. Yes.
Which seeds are you going to plant? What do you want to be a garden of?
I listen to you and I really feel like I don't even say nothing. I mean, what I mean is like there's a part that's inside of this is quiet. You know, it's almost like an analogy here. It's like, you know, you write all these questions to ask a guru. And then I want to ask about this. I want to ask about finances. I want to ask about my relationship. I want to ask about my job. And the first question and the answer just knocks out everything. And it's just like, I start to feel the presence. And in that space, questions disappear.
Exactly. Exactly. Our problem in life is not our unanswered questions. Our problem is our unquestioned answers. Our unexamined assumptions about the way things work. Our life experience is a narrative. It's not the facts. It's not the circumstances. It's what we see. It's how we label it. It's what we call it. That becomes our experience. That's what wisdom is.
Yes. Yes.
Wisdom isn't about living in a different world than everybody else.
Elevated.
Wisdom is about seeing what other people are missing.
Yes.
Because you're not stuck in a small narrative of what you think is going on. You have the discernment. And you can see the good, the bad, the ugly. You can see it all.
Yes.
You can see everybody wrong up in here, and I still love you.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be all right.
It's the grandmama's love.
Yeah, that's what yes.
Not caught up in all the caught up in stuff. I remember I grew up Church of God in Christ, hardcore Pentecostal. And the church mothers would come in white and they'd sit up in the front. And I can remember they'd look at me and, I'm worried, my soul is vexed or whatnot. And they'd say something like, "You all right, baby?" And I'd be, yes, mother so-and-so, I'm fine. I'm fine. Uh-huh.
So you say,
You sure? You know, ain't nothing going on? No, this I said, uh-huh. And then they just put a little hand on my arm and look
yeah,
me dead in the eye. And they say, whatever it is,
you're gonna be all right.
it's gonna be all right.
Yes.
And it would just melt inside. I
Yeah.
just knew in that moment, like it was gonna be all right.
Mhm.
And what I know that they knew, she didn't have to know the specifics of my drama.
Mhm.
She didn't have to know all that. What she knew is that God is God
Mhm.
and that God trumps everything,
Yes.
that every knee shall bow, and that God always has the last word.
Mhm.
And even the things that you think are there to hurt, or are there to harm you or to get in your way, God has a way of turning even that around for your good
Yes.
if you're willing to accept it and you're willing to believe it.
Mhm.
So part of that grandmother consciousness or grandfather consciousness, like the upper generations, is not feeling like you got to control everything.
Mhm.
See, paying attention to the roots, staying rooted in God and all
Mhm.
that. And yeah, you know, you may get a bad apple every now and then. Every crop ain't sweet,
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
but there's the next season.
Yes.
If you keep tending to the roots, there'll be the next one.
Mhm.
There'll be
Mhm.
the next one, as long as it remains strong down in there.
Yes. So part of what I'm feeling, sensing right now is the importance of having a new relationship with the divine, with God.
Yes.
And I want to invite you to speak on, I'm going to put it in maybe three different ways, I think, but maybe two. The concept of God and God as I, and your thoughts on that. Because God and I can give this idea that there is God and then there's me. Of course, as you know, in New Thought, we say God as me through me. And then the other thing that happened for me yesterday when I was reading that section that you read, first the roots, then the fruit, I was kind of just sitting with the idea that sometimes reading text, the sacred, any book like the sacred, any download like the sacred, yes, where it looks like God is speaking to me. Also, in the mind, we could feel like God is outside and there's this God that's orchestrating things, and hopefully I'm doing the right thing to appease this God that knows all. Can you speak to that concept of God and the I say for me, I know it's the importance of recognizing that I am one with it. I'm not separated from it, even though when I read, sometimes it seems like God out there is talking to me. I love when you have that smile on your face. It's like you're receiving a good information. Like, ooh, I can't wait to share this, and I can't wait to hear it. I'm sure listeners feel the same. Mm, mm,
What I
mm,
would say to everybody is let go of all of that.
mm,
It's a trap.
mm.
It's mental masturbation.
Yes.
It's the ego's trap to want to define, to want to figure out, to want to name, because the answer is none of the above.
Mm, mm,
It's none of that. Those are our human constructs, and they're very finite. And you can't put the infinite in the finite.
mm,
You can't do it. We can't define it. It's bigger than all of that. Okay. So this inner, this outer, this whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. It's the sense of the oneness. The oneness is this place of complete unification. I don't know why Spirit is showing me BB King right now. So, you know, BB King is like maybe the greatest blues player ever. Okay. And he passed away a few years or so ago. And his guitar was Lucille.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you ever watch BB, it's like BB was channeling something. He just, woo, he just go into the zone. Are you with me? And you knew that he wasn't just playing. It's like he was listening to something.
Yeah.
He was listening to something. But you're watching him being what he's listening to.
Yes.
He was the blues.
Yes.
And it didn't matter. What is BB listening to a song someplace and there's the song and then there's BB and the song's just coming through BB, or is the blues really from his own personal experience and he's just putting his own emotions out there and it's connecting with some kind of music in the sound, and then his experience in the outer sound are coming together and making a song? Or is it and you know, and would the music be there if it wasn't Lucille? Is it Lucille, the guitar that's making him, and is Lucille actually guitar? Is that like his fingers that's like really doing it? It just
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You actually missed the music doing all of that. Trying to figure it out. Yes.
Just connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just connect.
Just be in relationship. And seeing being in relationship doesn't mean it's separate or outside of you. You got to have a relationship with yourself. That doesn't mean you outside of yourself. You got to have a relationship with your mind, with your body, with your thoughts, you know, with your feelings, with your intentions. Mm-hmm. There's this thing that goes on that happens with that. And it's the communion part that's important. The be still and know me. Mm-hmm. The King James Version says, be still and know that I am God.
Yes.
But if you look at that am is typically in italics, which means it's put in there to make it linguistically correct for English. It's more like be still and know I got, like be still and know me. And this know, I talk about this all the time. It's an experiential know. It's a deep, intimate know. It's so intimate that this word know in Hebrew even means sexual intercourse. And he knew her in a biblical way.
Right.
This is not an intellectual cognitive thing. Like, I know there's a New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
No, this is relational. This is, I know you. When I say I know Susie, you know, or Lakeisha, she knows me. Okay. And something happens within that relationship. You say, you got to be still. You have to steal away to the inner chambers. And you can be still in the middle of activity.
Yes.
It'd be nice if you can get off to the woods or the ocean or, you know, a park or, you know, that'd be nice, but it's not necessary.
Right.
Right in your hospital bed, right in your prison cell, right in your bedroom, right sitting at your desk at the office, wherever you are, Wherever you are, God is right there. That debate, is God in me or what, whatever. There's air in our lungs because we're walking around in air. In God, we are living and moving and having our being. God is not just omnipresent, it's omnipresence. It is all presence. It's not just omniscient, all knowing, it is omniscience. It is all knowledge. It's not just omnipotent, all powerful. It is omnipotence. It is power. It's all of it. So the best way that I would describe it that makes sense to my little pea brain is like a cup of ocean to the water, to a cup of ocean to the sea. Okay, you scoop it up, and everything in that little cup is pure ocean. Okay. Now you ain't gonna sail a ship in there. You're not everything that the sea is, but there's nothing in that cup that isn't pure sea.
Yes.
And that's how I think it is. My mother just recently passed away, so I've been thinking about this a lot, where everything in our physicality comes from our parental DNA. Your parents didn't have it, you won't have it.
Right.
You don't have anything in your DNA that did not come from them.
Indeed.
You're not all of them, but there's nothing in you physically that did not come from those roots. You're your own little fruit, but they gave you the roots. They had their roots, put the seeds together, and boom, you're the new fruit. Well, it's kind of like that.
Yes.
It's like God, the divine, whatever you want to call it, is our spiritual parent. All of our DNA comes from the divine. That's why we are the only begotten. I know people want to think that that's just a specific person, but I want to encourage you to read the letter in the sacred hymn, only begotten.
Yes.
Where the God voice is very clear. It says that word son, my only begotten son, that word son is the Greek word huios, which means likeness and character. It's not like a biological lineage thing. It can be plural, like in the Beatitudes, when it says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. It's that same word, huios. It's in the likeness and the character. It says, you make it sound like it was some sacrifice.
Right.
It says that God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. It says, it isn't like I just did something once. I gave you my likeness and character. I gave the world, all of you, my likeness and character, because it is the only thing I can beget. I didn't just do it once. It's the only thing I can do.
Yes.
I can't give you something that's not me. We are the only begotten. It said, whosoever believeth in this shall not perish, but have everlasting life. To believe, to have faith in it, to confidence and move in it. Believe it in this. Whoever believes in this likeness and this character, perish, it means like to wither and to shrivel. It doesn't mean die, that you're not going to die. Everything bio has a shelf life.
That's right.
And And this everlasting life is the Greek zoe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a qualitative thing. It's not a quantitative. It's that ability to restore and to rejuvenate that's in this world. It's not a by and by thing. The great I am, the Elohim, gave the world, gave this place. The world in scripture is the place of human consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
There's earth, the planet, but the world is what we make.
Mm-hmm.
So infused into the stuff we make, we have been given. We have been given the breath of life, the nefesh,
Yes.
breathed into us in the beginning. We haven't been given a spirit of timidity and fear and cowardice, but of power and love and a sound mind. This is our spiritual DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So you made me preach up in here. See?
Oh, you got me going. I'm about to start crying in a minute. I'm gonna give my life to Jesus right now. It's like I turn around. I mean,
Yeah, make me run around up here.
oh my God! Listen, listeners. If you have the sacred yes, just go to page 351. I am always begetting my only begotten. I haven't read that in a long time. But just you bringing up touches me so deeply. One, it blew my mind, and it made sense, and it's so affirming. It's under the section 5, systems that support, page 351. If you don't have the sacred years, go get it. Go get it. This is the only time that I'm going to sound like I'm telling you what to do. You're going to thank me later. I'll make no apologies for it. Because if you're thirsty and I know where water is, I'm going to tell you turn left and right. The kitchen's over there. Go in there. Nobody's going to say, how rude. You didn't ask for my consent. I don't need your consent. You're thirsty.
It's the exact same thing. We are begotten.
Yes.
See, we talk about it like a birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Like that day we hatch out of the womb is T0. In our timeline of life. That's where we start counting. But I'm going to tell you the truth. If men gave birth, we'd be counting all that gestation time as part of the process. Just right now, for the people who are on the planet right now, over 6 billion years of pregnancy just for the people who are alive today. And there's no accounting for that. 6 billion years. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Okay. It isn't just that we hatch out. And technically speaking, the birthday is our mother's.
Yep.
She's the one that gave the birth.
Yes, indeed.
She the one that did all the hard work. We just,
Right.
boop.
Just showed up.
But the point is that we are begotten.
Yes.
We come from. When that baby, it's like we've come from something. We just have it mixed up. We think we're from the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're in it, but we're not from this. We think we're from our relationships, or we're from our jobs, we're from our bank accounts. That, we're from all of the hereditary stuff and the racial identities. And that's not where you're from.
Yes.
That's territory that you've traveled through. But you're from someplace else.
With deep roots.
That word in scripture where it says we're in the world but not of the world, that word of is the Greek word ek. And it's interesting that it says from, because most of the time it carries a spatial dimension.
Mhm.
It's interesting it said up because it would be more linguistically to correct to say we're in the world, but not from the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
In it, that Greek word in, where it's beside you, it's next to you, it's around you, it's above, it's beyond, it's below, it's enveloping and encased. We're in it. It's like all over us. Okay.
In it.
But it's not who you are.
Mhm.
It's not who you are. It's like mud that covers up the car or covers up the window. Shh, wash that stuff away
Mhm.
because it's not you. There's not enough mud in the world to change the transparency of the window.
Oh, oh, mm.
You know,
Say that.
yeah, that's a really good one.
I know that's right. Even you went, damn.
I did. Yeah, there's not enough mud in the world.
Mm, mm.
What did I say
To change the transparency
to
of the
change the
window.
transparency? Yes,
Oh my goodness.
yes.
Mm. Oof.
It reminds me of
Mm.
this story, this little joke story about these uh, uh, two elderly sisters that lived together, and it was such that one of their windows was over the kitchen sink in the kitchen area. So one of the sisters who would do most of the cooking whatnot was always complaining about the next door neighbor because her window looked out over the clothesline. And she kept complaining that the woman's clothes were always dirty and that they didn't, just young people, they didn't even know how to wash. They didn't even know how to take care of stuff and whatnot. And just complain about this all the time. So one day, her thing was always, we should go over there and talk to them. Somebody needs to go over and talk to them and, tell them, teach them a thing or two. So all of a sudden, the clothes are clean. So sister looks at the other sister. Oh, did you go over there and talk to them and like tell them about it?
Mm-hmm.
And the sister said, no, I washed the window.
It wasn't them, it's you. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Exactly. So we're looking out at the world through our dirty windows
Mm.
and wondering why everything's so dirty out there.
Mm.
Because we're looking through dirty glasses that we put on.
Can we talk about some dirty windows that is part of our history that I think sometimes causes people to not see clearly?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go there. I feel like I just want to chop it up with you, like you and I just on the phone. So one is this idea that Eve is the cause of all human drama, women. And the other one is I had this thought a few weeks ago. It's like it's interesting when they talk about the prophets, and the people from God, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha. It's always men. Now we have the Mother Teresa's, we have the Coretta Scott, but it's the Martin Luther King. This is coming for me to ask you, and I just want to hear your thought on it. I think part of that is part of that dirty windows because we don't get the full picture. So, what say you, FD?
5 minutes, huh? Okay.
You can do it.
So I'll start from the back and work my way forward. There's what we call the Abrahamic traditions: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, that are all related. The Jewish patriarch Abraham, his son Isaac, started Judaism, but his first son Ishmael is from the lineage of Islam. And then we know Christianity became like an outshoot out of Judaism. So those three that dominate the world in so many respects, in terms of military and money and all the rest of that, all come from the same tradition. That tradition has grown to be patriarchal, but it wasn't always patriarchal. Even when you say they're always men, my namesake, Deborah, in Hebrew history, was a prophet. She was a judge. She was a general in the Hebrew army, whose captain was Barak, by the way. And I mean, it's like I could go on and on. It sort of reminds me of quote unquote Black history, where we're not spoken of, but we're everywhere.
That's right.
You know, African Americans created the traffic light, the automatic transmission, the galvanized battery, open heart surgery. I mean, it's like I can just go on and on. Things that are used like all the time, but we're never credited or seen for it. So that's the way it is. Remember I said life is a narrative. Who tells the story? Who tells the story? But not all traditions are like that. Not all of them like Kuan Yin.
Right.
You know, and you have all of these other ones where, you know, Shiva and multi-arms, and you know, where they recognize the deities and the femininity and all of the rest of that. So that's part of it. Now the thing about Eve is just irritating because
to put it plainly, it is irritating.
because it's such a misunderstanding of it all. And I don't feel like I can really do it justice in 5 minutes. But it's not about a woman. It's not about all the rest of that. What I would like to say about it, though, is that in the second creation story that has Adam and Eve, the first one is just evolution. In this day, God created it, and it follows evolution perfectly. There were two trees in the eastern part of the garden. And the eastern always represents like the inner sanctum. These two trees standing right next to each other. The tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's that same knowledge that I was talking about. The sensory perception that judging by the appearances, the duality tree, where you're getting all of your idea about what's right and wrong and whatnot just from you, from what you see and like what you feel and what you experience. Okay. And the commandment was, you can do anything you want to in here, but don't eat that tree. Because when you do, you're going to die. Okay. But this isn't a biological death. Okay. They didn't get killed when they ate it. They got cast out of the garden. That tree of life is equivalent to the Greek Zoe that I was just talking about. This everlasting life, this tree of life, this place of restoration, of wholeness, of oneness, of regeneration. We are forever before these two trees. My second volume, Your Deepest Intent, talks about that every choice we ever make is always between these two trees. Do we choose the tree of life, or do we choose from the appearances? And it wasn't that God was going to punish you. There was a consequence, consequence, cause and effect. If you do this, then this will happen. You stay away from the duality stuff, you can live in paradise forever.
Mm-hmm.
You eat that tree, you eat that fruit. It's just the stuff that we've been talking about. You ingest that, you take that in, you become part of that. The tree of the knowledge of good, and you start having babies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You start having babies with that fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Eve, from an allegorical standpoint, aren't two different people. It isn't even Adam, it's Adam, which means earth being. If you just Google the word Adam, it's reddish color, like reddish clay color, from the Adoma, which is feminine. Adoma, look it up, Adama. It's earth. So like the earth beings have come out of the Adama. Adam has come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Image and likeness. It says in the first creation story, we were made in the image and likeness. One is feminine, one is masculine. And then it even says, let us make mankind in our image.
Yes.
Okay? We are all made masculine and feminine.
Yes.
So for Middle Eastern parables and whatnot, the masculine usually represents the rational mind. And the feminine represents the more intuitive, feeling kind of a thing. Okay? You can't command emotions. You can only command the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the commandment to not eat was given to Adam, so to speak, to that rational part of us.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. We are seduced at our sensory perception.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're seduced.
Mm-hmm.
It looked good. It feels good. That's where we get seduced.
Yes.
So in this great moment of accountability, okay, because God comes looking for them and they're hiding. He's like, why are you hiding? God's like, why are you hiding?
Right.
Adam says, because we are ashamed. Why are you ashamed? Because we're naked. And the story says, who told you that?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that word told. It means that you get information from an external source of which it's information you would have never come up with on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it means that I got told. Like, I didn't know that. It came from who told you that?
Yes.
Because there's no way that the people I created could have thought they were naked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know what happened up in here.
Mm-hmm.
I know what happened here. And here, I just loved it. So the rational part of us wants to blame the emotions.
Right.
I couldn't help myself. She made me do it. It just looked so good, and it just and then she turns and blames. No, it wasn't me. It was the servant. That tempted me.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes like all down the chain. It's really an incredible story when you really
when it's told.
When you're told and you really get it.
Yes, the spirit.
And you really get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this curse that comes, they still get to live, but it's going to be different. You're going to die to paradise because you're now thinking this duality stuff. So everything multiplies. So now that you're thinking this,
yes,
you're going to labor in you're going to have pain. The woman has emotions. Okay. It's like she's the inner realm. So your emotions now are going to start having pain and stuff mixed with it. The masculine part, he was the one that was tending the garden. And what now it's going to be the sweat of your brow. It won't even be, you're just gardening and having a good old, it's going to feel like work. So the stuff that you're doing is going to feel like work. Those emotions, sometimes it's going to feel like pain because you are now in this duality thing. And you can't stay up in here. You got to take that nonsense someplace else.
Yes, yes, yes.
You can't stay in the garden.
With that mindset.
With that mindset.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Just like Lucifer was a quote unquote angel in heaven, not created out of some demonic energy. And Lucifer thought he was all that. Just like Adam and Eve. Like, you'll be like the gods and you can see everything, was like this promise. It's like,
okay. I'll eat on that. Yes.
And let me tell you, just like Lucifer thought it could be all that and gets kicked out. Anytime you think that you don't need God, anytime you think that the original sin was to believe that there was no consequence. The original sin was to think that you can ingest duality and then not have a consequence.
Yeah.
No. It's not about some woman did something. They were in cahoots. The different aspects of our own being.
Yes.
You cannot command emotions. They have to be coerced, is what the spirit letter says. You got to work with them. You got to talk to your emotions. You can command your mind to think something else. You can see your affirmations and think different thoughts and turn on a dime. Your emotions ain't turning on nothing.
Yep.
But themselves.
Yes.
Yes. You gotta love and cherish and deal with all that emotion stuff. Because that's where you're going to be susceptible. No matter how many commandments you're following, if you can't grab hold of that, and part of that spirit, when it says we've been given a sound mind, that same word means self-control and self-discipline. We have the control over that. You're forever between those two trees. Just quit eating the fruit off that tree. Because you become its new roots.
Yes.
You become a feeder source for that. Just keep going to the tree of life.
Tree of life.
Keep going to the tree of truth. They were standing right next to each other.
Always.
Every decision always has you before these two trees. Over and over and over and over and over again. Those old church mothers, they weren't eating off my tree. They were eating off the tree of life. Because there they knew it's going to be all right. Quit looking out there for the government and everybody else to like make everything all right. Eat from the tree of life. Eat from that tree. And that'll make the mud come off. That'll make the transparency come through. Where you will begin to see the God that you're missing.
It's a good thing this is a virtual, Rev D, because folks will be throwing shoes at you right now. Like, girl, damn, girl. They'll be throwing shoes at you. You're probably throwing shoes at their screen right now. Like,
I almost said that earlier when I said, whoo, I'm preaching up in here. I said, make me want to like run around. I said, make me want to run around. And
yep.
What I didn't say was run around to dodge the shoes.
Yep. Because, oh my God, we have a sister in the IG. She's like, say that, yes. I mean, she's just going off. And the part about the Bible, because I was thinking I don't have time to ask you, and this question in my mind, when I first asked you the question, I thought, oh yeah, we can knock that out real quick. But you were knocking so much out that the part about a woman will be in pain during her labor. I remember the first time I read that, I'm like, what? I wrote lies. I thought it was BS. And the way you broke it down, it's like, oh my God. And that's why, folks, it's Sacred Yes. You can't really see it now because it's light. The Sacred Yes, Letters from the Infinite, Volume 1, and Your Deepest Intent. I am telling you, this is just an appetizer. Spend time with these books. It would open up so much. It would speak to you that you might want to run out the room. Because I was just thinking that.
You can just drop in. You don't have to read them cover to cover.
Yes. Don't even try it. If you're reading from cover to cover, you're dealing with that masculine thing. Let it guide you. Just stop. I had a friend saying, I've almost finished reading it. I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. Rev D.
I know. I just met a guy who has been following us, streaming. He apparently first saw me speaking at Agape online. And a brother lives here in the Santa Cruz area. So I took him out. A few of us went out to dinner. There's this Sunday afternoon thing that we do. And I brought him over here to my center to get him a book, like the Sacred Yes. So he was saying, he says, I avid reader. I like to read at least one book a week. And I just started to laugh. And I said, you ain't reading this one in a week.
I know, right? If you do, you didn't read it. If you do, you didn't read it.
Your eyes may have touched every page. Yeah, but
oh my God,
it's meant to be savored over and over and over again. This is a keep it by your bedside. Yes.
Don't live home without it. And the Sacred Yes is on an audio version too, right? But I mean, there's something about reading it. Anyway, we don't have time for that. But just get the books. And if you have the book, open it. Just go open to a page. Rev D, do you have any classes coming up?
Yes. I have some classes that are going on now, but I have a new workshop that's going to be starting on day after tomorrow.
Okay.
On Thursday. And I'm doing it through Centers for Spiritual Living Seattle, CSL Seattle. Okay. So if you go to their website, you'll be able to register. It's called Healing Our Relationship. Once again, our relationship to love and money.
Ooh.
It's 4 weeks, the 4 Thursdays in April.
All right. I have definitely milked your time, and I'm borderlining on doing too much. Thank you for being here, FD.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you next month. And
take care, everyone.
Yes. Peace and blessings.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Woo! I can't drop the mic right now because if I do, y'all gonna hear nothing. So, but what I can say is, just imagine them. I don't have a lot to say, but sometimes I say that and I end up saying a lot, but I won't. Other than, if you want to deepen the experience with me, lifecoachade.com, lifecoachade.com, and you can also sign my mailing list there. And whether you work with me or not, whether you work with Rev D, go to classes or not, I invite you to take some of the particles that are around you when Rev D blew your mind, pick some of those particles up and see which ones are treasured. Is this a treasure that I need to embody? I just had an aha moment. Put it into practice. Put it into practice. Put it into practice. Put it into practice. Because when you do, you embody that truth. It's easy to sort of go, wow, that was amazing. And you might find yourself in a situation where that information can help you. It's possible that if you don't embody it, no, let me stop playing small. If you don't embody it, you just might forget it. In fact, you will. I keep playing small when I try not to play small. Because embodying it is to help you remember. Put all that wisdom, connects you with the tree of life rather than the knowledge of good and evil. Well, I don't know. I remember FD said something about that. Oh, I don't know if it's me. But when you align with the tree of life, what you've embodied guides you. There is nothing new under the sun. We just need to embody what's under the sun, and it's you. I love and appreciate you, and I thank you all for being here. I'll be back next week. Jackie Smith, so good to see you. It's been a while. Thank you everyone for your comments, for your thoughts on IG. Drea, is it Drea? Drea Lotus Wise Woman. Thank you for being here. Kwali on IG as well. Ashley was on IG. Muhammad, everybody. Those of you who are listening and not commenting, Dr. Naeem Akbar, thank you. Jackie, thank you. KS Lovelace, Marion, just take this consciousness and multiply it. That's all that's needed. Because when you multiply the consciousness, you amplify the truth, the consciousness of the tree of life. And wherever you go, you find yourself growing and being more. And you can watch what's going on in the world and call it good. The good that transforms, good or bad, right or wrong. The good that comes from that place of oneness. I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Thank you for being here. Once again, like and share the show. Would appreciate that. And if you want to give a donation, an energy of money, as paypal.me, ADEANIFOWOSE, or just look on the screen. There's also Cash App, #, not $, #, Life Coach Ade. And there's Venmo, Ade Anifowoshe. My name is all over the place. Google me, I'm Googleable too. Let's see what else here before we release this. Woohoo! So good indeed. I'm sending you hugs too, my dear sister. And good to see you too, Jackie. Oh, I love this place. Oh, well, my mailing list, if you go to lifecoachade.com, Life Coach, what is it again? I forgot. I was doing it from memory. I wasn't even thinking. Lifecoachade.com. That's where it is. All right, it's time to release this. Thank you all for being here, and know that by your presence, you have changed your world. You are not the same, and that's why I say embody it, live it, practice it, use it. I'm out. Multiply it. Peace and blessings.
Be who you are. Let your light shine with so much more.